All right, welcome back everyone to the Ratchet Motors YouTube channel. So what we're going to be working on today is finally getting back into our 62 F100. So we finally wrapped up working on our Triumph Thunderbird. The Super Beetle is out on the road and good and driving here. So now we can finally work on our F100 project. So if you don't remember, we have a 1962 F100, Ford F100, Flareside Shortbed. And it originally came with the 223 6-cylinder and a 3-on-the-tree manual transmission. I bought this a couple years ago, and then just a few months back, I actually purchased a significant upgrade here. So what we have sitting on the other side of the garage is a refreshed 65 frame with a 460 big block, C6 automatic transmission. And I'll show a few other things in a moment here, but the whole goal is a body swap. We're gonna take the 62 body and put it on that super nice, super upgraded 65 chassis. So I'm gonna need to do some cleaning up real quick here, but as I mentioned, we have a nice and fresh 65 F100 shortbed frame, 460 big block, C6 transmission, and it has a Crown Vic subframe grafted on the front end here. So that means we have disc brakes, we have front independent front suspension, power steering, along with some other upgrades that come with that Crown Vic. What we also have on the back there is an 8.8 from the same Panther. I don't know if it was exactly a Crown Vic or a town car, but we have the whole front and rear suspension here. So again, disc brakes all around, power steering, as well as just some upgraded suspension components. So again, the goal is to get this nice, sweet, patinaed 62 body, and we're moving it over to our 65 refreshed frame. It should be more or less a bolt, kind of a plug and play here. The only thing that's gonna be tricky is there is some things I've read online about the body mounts specifically for the cab, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. All right, so taking that all into consideration, the first thing we need to do is tear down this 62. So I think, just my own personal preference, I'm gonna work on the bed first, then I'll work on the front clip, and the last thing I'll go for is the cab. I think by moving the bed over first, what that means is I'll have something to align to if I do need to make some new cab mounts. All right, so just a little bit of an update here. Things are going pretty good. We have 4 of the 8, I believe, bed bolts out. The nut splitter, that's a great tool, but honestly, things are just going a lot slower than I planned. And I really want to get this bed off sooner than later, so I'm gonna take the nut splitter out of the equation for the time being, and I'm gonna change over to my Sawzall and my angle grinder, my cutoff wheel. I'm gonna just start cutting off everything I can, because I'm not planning on keeping the frame, not planning on keeping any of the hardware. We just need to get this bed disconnected so we can start lining it up on the other frame here. So we're gonna get a little more aggressive with our removal here. I'm gonna change over to my GoPro just in case any sparks start flying. But yeah, we're gonna speed up this bed removal with a little bit of cutoff tool here. So tune on in. All right, so just checking back in again. We got 8 bed bolts either cut or the nut split off. Made quick work of everything with the bands, the Sawzall and the cutoff wheel. Not sure how much of that I actually captured. It's a little tricky filming under the car and everything, but we do get the 8 bed bolts disconnected. It still does seem a little stuck in place. I did notice there's a couple like outrigger rods for the actual flares, or for the I should say for the bed sides here, or whatever you'd call them, the wheel wells. So I'm gonna disconnect those and start maybe hammering out some of the hardware. It does look like some things are rusted, stuck in place. I don't know, for all I can tell, this could have been the original hardware that bolted the bed down. We're just gonna keep working away at it, but the bed should be lifting up any time now because 8 bolts were removed. They're disconnected. I can't imagine there's actually much more holding this down. Just kind of get under there and see what we have left to work with. So this is what I was referring to as that outrigger. You can see it goes from the front of our like step side here, our flare side, I should say, and it ties into the frame. That's really the last thing I have that's connecting the bed to the frame here. So once we disconnect those, I'm gonna start kind of pounding away at the hardware. I already got the rear end to disconnect, kind of come up off the frame. The front here, I think once we disconnect those these outriggers here, I'll feel pretty comfortable applying some more force and really shoving it up and seeing what happens. All right, so we got everything loose on the bed there. I actually am able to kind of wiggle it and lift it off. So I'm gonna leave that all as is for the time being. Waiting for a little extra equipment to show up, which I'll show you guys when I get it. But I'm gonna move on to the front of the truck for the time being. Now I know I'm probably gonna need to make new cab mounts, or at least some of the new cab mounts on the new frame. But the front fenders, the front clip, and the bed should line up perfectly. So I'm hoping to get both of those onto the frame temporarily. So that'll just make mocking up for the cab easier. So now that the bed's all loose, I'm gonna start looking at the front clip here. So I'll take off the hood, the bumper, the front fenders. I think the front fenders and the front grille should all kind of come off as one piece here. Just do whatever's easiest for me because I am working alone, at least for the time being here. All right, so usually people at this point would probably take the hood off, but just because of space limitations, I don't have a hand really to move this and not really anywhere good to place at the time being. I'm just gonna start by taking the front clip fully apart. So we already got the front bumper off here. That's pretty easy. Some of the bolts are already missing, so that made it easier. What we're gonna do is take off the front clip next. So the fenders and the front grille here are all bolted together with these inner fenders as well, just if you're not familiar. It's only a few bolts that holds this all to the frame and to the cab. So what I'm going to do is remove everything from the inner fenders, anything that's disconnected along the... Sorry, camera died there. So disconnect anything from the inner fenders, probably pull the radiator or disconnect the radiator. We'll probably leave this in the frame in the truck. It should just be a few small things along the way here, disconnecting wires, disconnecting some different plugs. And then the few bolts we have, we'll pull off the front clip. And again, because we have small garage problems kind of right now,
I'll probably get it over onto that frame sooner than later, even if it's just kind of temporarily in place, just to make space so we can work on things here. So here we go.
Alright, so that's really everything we have for this one today. Unfortunately, Triumph looks like it's got a sticking clutch or something, so we're going to address that as soon as possible. I think I'm going to bleed the clutch system and then possibly open up the clutch cover as needed. We did get a little bit of hardware here. I'm going to show you how I'm planning on moving the bed in the next one. It should be a little exciting. Hopefully it's a little trick I'll have so we can move it on our own here. So we'll see that all in our next one. As always, thank you everyone so much for tuning in. If you like what you saw, hit the like button, share with your friends, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Hope to see you again soon.